Kelly here, and today I wanted to make a short video to talk about the myths surrounding language learning. Now, there's lots of obstacles that get in our way when we decide we want to learn a language, and a lot of these can stop us from even starting in the first place. So today I wanted to dispel a few of the myths around language learning. The first myth, and the biggest and my favourite one, is I don't have the talent for learning languages. There's absolutely no talent required for learning languages whatsoever. None, nada, none at all. Also coupled with that, I've heard people say I don't have the language gene. Now, I'm not a scientist, so please scientists do correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I'm aware, there is no gene that if you don't have it means you will never be able to learn a language. So there's no special talent required, and as far as I'm aware, there's no language gene. The next myth is I'm not clever enough. Plenty of stupid people speak more than one language. That's all I'm going to say on that one. The next myth is language learning is boring and difficult. Yep, if you make it so. A lot of this I think comes from schools and establishments, language learning in classrooms. And it's boring and difficult because they make it boring and difficult, quite simply. As an adult, I've never been bored. As an adult learning a language by myself, I've never ever been bored. And I think the myth of difficulty comes from not knowing yourself as a learner and not knowing what your best ways and best methods of learning are. At school, we're all taught in the same way, using the same learning styles. And so I think it's best to know yourself as a learner and to work within your strengths. So what do I mean by this? Now, my brain literally shuts off the moment a teacher or a book starts to speak about grammar terminology. It's like I'm suddenly put in the worst mood ever, I'm not kidding you, and a wall comes down. So if I focused my language learning around grammar, then I would never get off the starting blocks. What I am really good at is learning a language from hearing people speak and hearing the patterns and the rhythms of the language. And so I focus all my learning around sentences and dialogues and stories and songs, and just having conversations with people. The next myth is I'm too old, I should have learnt as a child. There's no learn by date stamped on languages, and actually adults are far more effective learners than children. The next myth is you need to have lots of spare time. You don't need to be chained to a desk for hours a day to learn a language, and actually 30 minutes spent in the right way can be incredibly effective, especially when you couple it with a few minutes here and there during your day of fun language learning, so things centered around your interests. So for example, you could watch a YouTube video in your target language whilst you're having a cup of tea, or you could play a game on your phone in your target language whilst you're taking the bus. Or, very exciting, you could find a recipe in your target language and follow that, so you could learn a new recipe and you're working on your target language at the same time. So there's so much you can do, and actually your brain and your concentration works best in small intervals. So quite often I find the couple of minutes I take when I'm watching a YouTube video in my target language whilst I'm having my tea can be far more effective than that half an hour that I spend sitting down learning the language. Yep, don't need to have loads of time. The next myth is you must live in the country. Now, my mother-in-law has lived in South Africa for 50 years and still only speaks English. I don't, and speak Afrikaans. What's really important? It's not about living in the country, it's about setting up your life so that you're surrounded by the language, and most importantly, that you use the language on a daily basis. Using the language is key and one of the most important things to successful language learning, because it's through using the language and making mistakes in it and getting corrected that you learn. Most of what I can now say in Afrikaans has come from being corrected on those words and sentences in the past. And they stick in my mind because I've had to spend the time on them because I've got them wrong at some point in the past. Sometimes I still do. So I hope this video has been helpful to dispel a few of those myths. So the first one was, I don't have the talent for learning languages. Absolutely no talent required. And linked to that, I don't have the language gene. I'm not clever enough. Like I said, plenty of stupid people can speak more than one language. Language learning is boring and difficult. Only if you make it so. Don't make it boring. I'm too old. Nope, there's absolutely no learn by date stamped on languages. You need to have lots of spare time. No, you really don't. Not at all. Just know how to use your time properly. You must live in the country. No, absolutely not. What does make a difference is your mindset and your commitment to it. So, I hope that's been helpful. If you want to write down below in the comments any obstacles that you found in your own language learning, as always, I'd love to know. And that's everything from me for now, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.